I'm a nutritional balancing practitioner, and it has recently come to my attention that I need to make a video on something that is likely to affect a few people on the program, and it affected me as well. And basically what it is restricting even more of the program because of the extreme sensitivities that a lot of people have got. Now, this is not going to apply to everyone, but I feel like it's going to start applying to more and more people because, unfortunately, as a nation and as people, we're getting sicker and sicker and sicker. So basically, the issue we've got is there's a percentage of people that are super sensitive and very sick, and they've got very low vitality. Now, I'll talk about my own personal story, and then you'll get an idea of how you can relate that to your specific one. So I started the program, and I did get some improvements and whatnot, and it was very strict, obviously, and something that was a big change in my life. And it was difficult, extremely difficult, like a lot of people experience who start. And after a few months, I started to realise things, that there were certain foods that, although it was on the programme, that just wasn't really, didn't seem to be working for me too well. And I actually figured this out through process of elimination and a lot of trial and error and a lot of confusion. Now, first of all, I don't want to blame Dr. Wilson, because if you do read his articles with a fine comb, I wouldn't say I've read his articles with a fine comb. I've just read that many articles over so many years that I do know that he speaks about these things in the articles, but it's unlikely that the general public or clients are going to have read them, partly because a lot of people are too sick to even read a lot of the articles anyway, so they just tend to, me in the beginning, I was so fatigued and tired, I could only get through the main articles: copper toxicity, adrenal burnout, sympathetic dominance, etc. I just didn't have the energy. I had EMF problems. So I started to realise that, there's some other foods that I'm struggling to deal with. And it can slow people down, unfortunately, and for some people they don't actually move forward unless they cut out other foods as well. So the main foods that people have difficulty with, the main one's dairy, usually. So dairy is on the programme. We recommend raw goat's milk, some raw goat's cheese, etc., if you can handle them. So it's something that you need to check in with yourself and just be aware of. How do you feel when you eat cheese, when you drink goat's milk? Unfortunately, if you're getting reactions, negative reactions, it's not working out for you. And again, what's a negative reaction when you have healing reactions? This is another issue. Please read the article on healing reactions. Watch my video on healing reactions, but usually it's difficult to know. A little bit of experience is the most important. If you've got a few months under your belt, you start to realise actually what's a healing reaction, what's something that's actually not beneficial. It's difficult. So dairy was an issue for me that I had to cut out, and I got to a point where I was so sugar sensitive. I realised that I was so sensitive to sugar that I even had to cut out sugary veg. So I had to cut out carrots and carrot juice. I had to cut out peas, which is quite carby veg. I had to cut out parsnips. I had to cut out Swedes. I had to cut out beetroot. And it's just a nightmare to have to do that, and obviously it is a little bit confusing when it is recommended on the programme, and you need to realise that there is a small percentage of people that are just so extremely sensitive and fatigued that they unfortunately have got to go on the extra mile to do it. And I should point out this is some of the reasons why people quit on the program, is because these things happen. They don't feel like they're moving forward, but in reality it can be a food, or it can be too much sugars. Even if a person's following the diet really well, they might be eating too many beetroots, eating too many peas, and it's difficult, but they can affect you. Another one's nut butters. One of the main reasons why I've made this video is because a client of mine recently realised that nut butters was holding her back. Almond butter, I'm sure she's going to watch this video. I know she watches my videos, so you know who you are. So thanks for letting me know. But there are lectins in something called leptins in nut butters, and people can be sensitive to them. And in this particular case, she found out that it was holding her back so much that, she was thinking about leaving the program. There are other toxins in things like broccoli and other vegetables that people need to be aware of. I particularly wasn't sensitive to that. But, I went around a year or a year and a half, and it was a low point for me because I wasn't moving forward. I moved forward somewhat, obviously, or I wouldn't have got 1.5 years down the line. I moved forward a lot, in fact, a hell of a lot, However, I was in this period where I felt like I wasn't moving forward. There was something not right, and it was my diet. I was so sensitive to things, I had to cut things out. So in the end, in all seriousness, all I was eating was like leafy greens, like Swiss chard and kale and some broccoli. I know it's not a leafy green, but mainly greens, cabbage, that just tended to be low in carbohydrates. So that's something I wanted to mention, and I don't want people to quit because they don't feel like something's working. It might be because you're actually sensitive. And Dr. Wilson does talk about it. Blue corn chips is another one. If you read his articles with a fine comb, you'll find that he talks about how people need to quit blue corn chips. He talks about toxins in nut butters. I don't think this particular issue that I'm talking about now is on his website enough, so that's something we're going to look into. So, not really to blame, but at the end of the day, he's got 1,500 articles. Even I'm finding, even I have difficulties with certain things, and then I'll find it hidden away in an article that he's wrote about. So hopefully this YouTube channel is another way of getting things out there that people might be a little bit stuck with. Alright, so I'll leave it there. So basically, if you are... people aren't stupid. They have a feeling of whether they're struggling to move forward. Again, if you've got a few months or a couple of years under your belt on the program, you get a better idea of what's a healing reaction and what's not a healing reaction. The vast majority of the time people move forward, and then they'll hit a block for a few weeks or a few months, and they don't seem to be moving forward, and that's usually the time when you need to maybe think about tightening your belt on maybe cutting down on some carrot juice if it's too sugary, cutting down on sugary vegetables, etc, etc. Alright, so I'll leave it there, and we'll speak soon.